what was your first impression of me?
I thought that you were a little bit too big for me, okay?
Oh my God, I've been complicit in so much. Let's talk more about that urban stuff you people seem to go on about. As it turns out, beer in Mexico is actually really popular in Mexico.
My name is Scarface and I just got into Hogwarts.
The Appalachian Trail, where all your white friends named Trevor go to eat, pray, love for 3 months.
Who do you think shot Ronald Reagan?
Waterbeds. The most liquidy, watery bed.
And overall felt like it was written by an asshole who would fart on a plane and then blame it on a baby 3 seats down. This is a cry for help. Okay, we've got Arian Moayed in the house. Arian.
How are you, man?
Good. How are you doing? How's happiest of New Year's 2021
Happy New Year
compared
to you.
2020? So we have a lot to talk about. I'm really excited to have you. But one of the, you're known for your roles on screen, in theater. But back, about 10 years ago, you did a little play, but with a big name, Bengal Tiger at the Baghdad Zoo. And for those who may not know, the Bengal Tiger was played by the late, great Robin Williams. This was your Broadway debut, correct?
That's right, yeah.
So how did it feel? How did it feel, and how does it feel? And what do you remember? What are your biggest takeaways from that process working with Robin Williams?
It's really kind of, it's so funny that you're mentioning this because the other day I was just watching old Robin Williams interviews on the Johnny Carson show. And I was just remembering how brilliant he was. Yeah, I mean, Bengal Tiger at the Baghdad Zoo is a show that I did twice in LA at the Kirk Douglas Theater and Center Theater Group. And then we moved it to Broadway. It's a production that takes place based on a true story of two soldiers that were kind of like fucking around with a tiger in Baghdad after the United States accidentally bombed the zoo. And one of the soldiers actually was playing and giving him a Slim Jim, and the tiger bit off his hand. And then they killed the tiger, and it turned into this little story in the midst of like an invasion of 2003. And Rajiv Joseph, the incredible playwright who wrote Bengal Tiger, and I ended up doing Guards of the Taj with him as well. Rajiv tapped into that mindset in 2003. And then we did it twice, and then we moved to Broadway with Robin. And, I was 30 and on Broadway in a lead role. The whole experience was phenomenal and exciting. And also, Robin became a friend of ours. He is, as many people don't realize, but at the end of the day, Robin was a man of the stage, whether it was comedy or Juilliard or whatnot. He's a stage guy. And so he prefers an audience. One thing that I always say, I'll never forget. Now, the theater that we did it was the Richard Rodgers Theater. And the Richard Rodgers Theater is Hamilton is right now.
Yeah.
We walked in the first day of tech, and Robin, and it's 1,400 seats. Matt, you look up and you're like, fuck, there's so many seats here. And then Robin looked around and he goes, it's like performing in your kitchen. And I said, Robin, what is the biggest, crowd you've ever performed for? He goes, I think it was 100,000 people. And I was like, wow.
Now, between the time you graduated and Bengal Tiger, you were busy, although maybe to many people, they may not know what you were up to during that time. That was the time that you started Waterwell, and you were doing so much advocacy work, so much of your own work with your producing partner, your creative partner. Can you tell the people a little bit about that time, those formative years?
When 9/11 happened, I was at school, and the co-founder, Tom Ridgely, and I, we found the purpose of our lives at that moment, which was to use art to better people's lives the way that it's been doing it since the beginning of time. The reason I say this to our students at our education program, the reason why you guys are reading Romeo and Juliet is not because it's like a free play. It's because Romeo and Juliet tackles what we are as a society, what the spiritual element of it is, what the interpersonal element of it is, and what the global ramifications of that is. And so And so at that time in 2002, we moved to New York City, and our goal was not about being like actors. Our goal was to get like, money. But our goal wasn't about like being like some famous actors or anything like that. It was about starting this company. So in 2002, 18 years ago, if you can believe that, we founded a company called Waterwell, and it was about creating art to better people's lives and doing it with access and responsiveness. Now, all these words, you said the word buzzword earlier in our conversation, and all these words in 2002 were in our mission statement. But I will tell you this right now, nobody gave a shit. They thought we were too earnest, or they thought that it was too lofty. The 2000s, we were in a war. Irony was the thing that was selling, especially in entertainment. And so what was happening is we were creating art that was trying to tackle massive issues that we were researching and dealing with and giving it to the masses at a very low price. Our fourth show was called The Persians, a comedy about war with 5 songs. And it was, we took Aeschylus's play and we gave it a real kind of like hour and 30-minute twist. It went from the shittiest, smallest, amazing theater called St. Mark's. And we went from St. Mark's and we moved it off Broadway. And then the New York Times came. And then I got signed by a massive agency at the age of 25. So the entirety of Waterwell is the reason why I have any successes.
I mean, but you need those trailblazers like, Waterwell to change the industry, right? Like nobody knows, unfortunately, like there's such, they always say like, oh, you don't know you need it until you have it. But it's really like, I feel like people really are searching for something, really desiring for something, but it's like it takes a while for the industry or the people or them, whoever them is, to give them that, right? So
actually really kind of jump in and like care. It's interesting. I think about this time period very, very uniquely because in that time period, I was doing play after play after play after play. I was working at Steppenwolf and Manhattan Theater Club and doing all these plays. And I was finding more and more that the satisfaction of teaching and the satisfaction of making art that changes lives in the audience, even one person's life, that comes up to you and says, I have a new perspective on capitalism after we did Marco Millions. Hearing those things were always more rewarding. And then jumping ahead and getting on Broadway, being the first Iranian to be ever nominated for a Tony Award, and then seeing that and seeing this other piece, I started to realize it's kind of the same, that even touching all those like awesome things at the top were not that much more satisfying than helping a student realize a moment in a monologue class.
Talk about Waterwell, talk about like trailblazing. And now 18 years later, Waterwell has produced and made, and you've written and directed, an Emmy-nominated series, The Accidental Wolf. Now, for the people that haven't seen Accidental Wolf, I've watched it. I love it. It's really awesome, really intense. What can you tell the people? Like, what's your pitch to get topic and watch The Accidental Wolf?
The Accidental Wolf was a story about feminism before the Me Too movement. It was a story about privilege before white privilege was a thing. It was a story about the haves and the have-nots. It's a story about the voiceless being voiced. All these things happened pre-Trump. And so we then had this show that we've made, and we kind of made it because Kelly O'Hara, the incredible Kelly O'Hara, and I did, King Lear at the Public Theater together with Sam Waterston and Michael McKean and Bill Irwin. And I just said to Kelly, I said, if I write something for you, will you do it? And she said, yes, and here we are. And we are not backing away from how we want to tell this story. I mean, for those Iranians that are going to be listening to this, I mean, the last episode is a Gugush song. It's completely set by a Gugush song. And so that kind of format bending is something that Waterwell has been doing on the nonprofit side for 18 years. And so that felt very natural to me. And Topic is a classy place that understands that format bending needs that kind of voice. And so they said yes. And now we have a season 2 and season 3 going to come out in 2021. It
really seems, and not seems, it is like you and Waterwell have been trailblazing, have been creating, have been on the forefront of making all these changes before they were popular, right? And another thing, being an Iranian American, being born in Iran, being an immigrant, you've been also advocating for Manas or Middle Eastern, North African, South Asian diversity, both in stage and on screen for so many years, really for, since your inception, both overtly and subtly. How do you think things have changed since your beginning? And how do you think that the events of the summer of 2020, now that's become popular and a buzzword and all that, how do you think that's changed and propelled your advocacy work?
That's a very good question. A lot has changed and so little has changed.
Hmm.
That's the sad reality. To be blunt with you, it was less than a year ago where I got some sort of script, an offer for a script in which the Middle Eastern person did not have an ounce of reality. And I'll tell you, they yelled at their mom. That's
never have I ever
impossible.
used a curse word in front of my mom, let alone raise my voice above a
And when you say that to them, you're like, no, it's impossible. They're like, well, it happens. It's like, I don't actually know if it does. I mean, if you're talking about the one guy out of a million, that's not a story I want to tell. Yeah, you're on CSI. You are in the writer's room, and you have to write 22 episodes. And Afsheen, they say, Afsheen, today you're going to write that episode about New Zealand. And you're going to be like, okay, that's your job. What are you going to do? You're going to Google it. You're going to find a couple of buzzwords. You're going to maybe see a video. You're going to spend an hour to 2 hours. You're not going to have any idea what New Zealand's like. But then you are having to write an entire episode about New Zealand. So whatever you say, at the very least, with your biggest heart, liberal, democratic heart, is going to be ignorant. It's just going to be ignorant. But at the end of the day, 18 years later, I think people have come to our side. And, I will give this to the industry. This time, now they call me and talk to me about it. They want to hear my opinion on things, which you want to, if you want to represent an immigrant or an Iranian or someone from the Middle East, you have to talk to people. You have to understand, like if you're doing that New Zealand CSI episode, actually, you got to talk to someone from New Zealand. You just got to do it. So I think they're getting better at that, but the wheels of progress turn slow, as Martin Luther King says.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just brought it all the way back to MLK, baby.
I think it's 70% of all Middle Eastern, North African actors on screen, actors and actresses, they ended up playing terrorists or tyrants. And it was only like the rest of them were just filling some kind of exotic role, exotic, Aladdin, Jasmine kind of like role.
People are scared of just being real about the fact that they don't know anything about anything. And so when people don't know, they're not going to be curious about it.
Arian, you're in the immensely popular HBO show Succession.
Which one is it? Okay.
Oh yeah, not Game of Thrones, and it's not Chernobyl. So, yeah. So how do you tap? I mean, unless you're a billionaire and I don't know it, how do you tap into this ultra rich, greedy character? What gets you in that mind space? What has been your process, your creative process in creating that character? Because for people that may not know you and they watch you, it's like, oh, this is a documentary about your life.
I got to be real with you. I tackle that character and that human being kind of the same way I tackle all the characters, with humanity. Everyone's like, that evil son of a bitch, Stewy Husseini. I get it. I completely get why people say that. But in my mind, as I look at Stewy Husseini, I think he's the most honest, most straight shooter that is out there. I tackled him with two really kind of simple ideas. That if he's that successful and that young, basically handing over $4 billion of assets that he has somehow, somewhere, whether it's its own or not, you've got to be confident as hell. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, I know Kendall Roy since high school. We went to Buckley together. So, that guy that from high school, as big and as amazing that he is, at the end of the day, he's just that fucking boy from high school.
It seems like these two most recent adventures that you've been, projects you've been working on, they are just you have these mountains on stage, these giants of the theater performing alongside. Do you feel, how does it feel to work with so many theater actors on stage? And, for the people that are performing artists and all that, what do you find the differences between working on stage with these performers and then working on film?
I think that's a very good question. I kind of, and I appreciate the question. I do have a tendency to use theater actors in general. I think there is a level of danger in the theater that I think that you don't have in film and TV. The Humans, the show I did on Broadway, The Humans was a 95-minute one scene in which my character had to put on the table a Thanksgiving dinner. And every night water would fall and glasses would break and turkeys would fall to the ground. What do you do? That danger is really thrilling for the theater folks. That being said, I'm working on Shonda Rhimes' new show, Inventing Anna, right now, and to get a taste of that world, which is a completely different world than the Succession world, has also been very rewarding because sometimes you just want to be told what to do.
So we're gonna play a game if that's okay with you.
But
you're born, raised in Iran. I'm Iranian as well. What I love, the first things I like to tell people when they ask, like, oh, will you speak Farsi for me, or you speak your different language for me, is I like to say, teach them like the bad words. But then I also like to translate for them these weird phrases. And I think there's a lot of odd phrases that mean something else, like different metaphors and similes. So I'm going to give you a phrase in English, and if you could say it in Farsi and tell us how would you use that in conversation.
Good luck. All right, here we go.
Okay. So the first one is, there is a donkey inside the donkey.
It's like I believe it is like there's an idiot inside of that idiocy. It's like so you have a moron, or you have a moronic idea or a person or a thing, and inside of that there is more. There's another moron, and that's what this is.
Okay, nice. Yeah. So how would you use that in a sentence? Like, what would you say to your buddy if you're like, yo?
Let's do that. Let's do another beer bong. It's like, right?
Next one. You took my head.
Samahordi?
Yeah.
Yeah, Samahordi. I would translate that as you ate my head, which means you talked my ear out. You fucking Jesus, stop talking, man. You just talked it to death.
Yeah. Like my favorite, like in an airplane, like somebody's like, so where are you from? Blah 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 blah. And you're like, it's been the last layover of, last leg of 4 legs, and you're just like, ugh, you're talking my ear
off. It's like actually you're just talking my ear off. Yeah.
May your breath be warm.
Damn it! It's like damn it, a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Bless you. It's like bless you, really.
Yeah.
It's just as simple as damn it, Iranians, I love them so much. They're so positive so many times, and when they see some sort of Iranian accomplishment that I do or that my family does or someone else, they're like, damn it, Gam, yeah, where your breath, just I think we bless you for doing that.
Yeah. It's just, mashallah, Jason, exactly.
Yeah, mashallah, Jason. Mashallah, Jason, yeah.
Okay, so last question, everybody, all the guests are 2 minutes late. Yeah. We asked them, if a biopic was made about your life right now, who would play you and what would its title be?
I think I should be played by either Grover.
Okay.
Or Elmo.
Okay.
Those are the two first. Those are my 2 favorites. No, who should play me? I do love those 2, but I would say, I don't know. I think I would answer it I would love to be played by a Charlie Chaplin or a John Cassavetes. That's who I would love to play me. And what would the title be?
Yeah.
He's at it again.
I love it. Arian in the house. Thank you, Arian. Thank you for joining us.
My friend.